My sister's kids sent me a Christmas wish list, $3,200 drone, a PS6, two iPhones, and cash for future tattoos. I asked if it was a joke. She replied, "Don't be cheap. You're the rich uncle." I just smiled. On Christmas morning, a truck arrived with 12 giant boxes. The movers handed my sister a sealed envelope. It wasn't a card. It was a step-by-step instruction. 10 minutes later, the kids were, "My name is Andrew. I'm 34, an emergency physician, and, if you ask my family, the steady one. I work nights, drink bad coffee, and keep a pair of scrubs in my trunk because I've learned life doesn't warn you before it falls apart. I'm the older brother by 3 years, the quiet son, the one who answers the phone at 2:11 a.m. and says, 'I'm on my way,' even when I've just finished a 12-hour shift. If you grew up in my house, you'd know there were roles. Mine was reliable. My sister, Melissa, was the free spirit with expensive taste. Mom called it charm. Dad called it a phase. It lasted 19 years and counting. We weren't rich. Dad retired early after a back injury. Mom stretched coupons until the paper tore. I picked up shifts in med school and wired money home more than once. Back then, it didn't feel like sacrifice. It felt like gravity, inevitable and boring. Someone had to pay the light bill. Someone had to be the adult. That someone was me. Now I rent a small townhouse near the hospital, drive a 7-year-old sedan with a cracked taillight, and have a plant named Lucky that refuses to die, probably out of pity. My vacations are 2-day windows between schedule swaps. Patients know me only as document, family knows me as Andrew. Can I ask you something real quick? It started the week before Christmas. I was charting at 1:03 a.m. when my phone buzzed 20 times in a minute. Group text. Melissa's kids, ages 11 and 14, had sent me a wish list. Not a list, a manifesto. "Hey, Uncle Andrew, here's our Christmas list so Mom doesn't forget. A $3,200 drone, the one with cinematic mode, a PS6, two iPhones. We'll trade our old ones in. Cash for future tattoos, LOL, and some clothes. Size list attached. Thanks, love you." I stared at the numbers. I read it again, counting zeros like a nurse counts pills after a shift. I typed, "Is this a joke?" and set the phone face down. It buzzed again. "Melissa, don't be cheap. You're the rich uncle." I looked at the clock. 1:06 a.m. monitors beeped. Somewhere 2 rooms down, a kid coughed hard enough to bring a nurse running. I felt that old, familiar pull to say nothing and just find a way. I didn't answer. I put my phone back in my pocket and went to check a blood pressure that wouldn't stabilize. 2 days later, I was at my parents' house dropping off soup and batteries because their smoke alarm chirped for a week. Melissa was there, perched at the table, scrolling. She didn't look up. "Did you see the list?" she said. "Yeah," I said. "You're a doctor," she said. "It's not like you can't afford it." Dad clinked his mug and studied the table like there was a test he hadn't prepared for. Mom cut an apple very carefully. All the small sounds felt loud. I didn't argue. I didn't explain billable hours or medical school loans or why I still make my own lunches in bulk. I just said, "I saw it," and went to replace a battery. I wish I could say I forgot about it. I didn't. I went home and tried to sleep, and a sentence kept looping on my ceiling like a ticker. "Don't be cheap. You're the rich uncle. Here's what you need to know before Christmas morning." I wasn't born with a white coat. I earned it one slow, unglamorous shift at a time. My first semester of med school, I worked as a tech on weekends and cleaned an office 3 nights a week. I learned to nap in elevators and study in line at the pharmacy. I missed birthdays, barbecues, and the entire concept of Sunday. When I finally matched, I cried alone in a parking lot, then went to work because my shift started at 6. When Dad's back went out, I sent $300 a month. When Mom's car needed a new transmission, I put it on my card and paid it off in 6 months. When Melissa's rent was 5 days late because payroll messed up, I transferred $850 with a note that said, "Pay me when you can." She never did. I never reminded her. "You're a good brother," Mom would say, like it was a compliment and a request in one sentence. "Family looks out for each other," Dad would add, pointed but vague, which is how guilt usually sounds. Melissa learned the rhythm. She'd call and start with a story. A landlord who hates single moms, a teacher who singled out her son, a school trip fee due by tomorrow. Always tomorrow. Always urgent. I'd be in the trauma bay rinsing someone else's blood off my hands, and Melissa would be crying quietly into the phone. "It's just, you know how it is, Drew. You've always been the strong one." Strong is a word people use when they mean useful. The tally in my notes app reads like a ledger I never meant to keep. $300, $850, $120 for cleats, $64 for field trip, $400 for deposit, $200 for birthday emergency, $1,100 for we got behind, $75 for a fundraiser. There are 47 entries over 6 years. The totals make me lightheaded in a way caffeine can't fix. But it wasn't just money. It was time. Melissa doesn't drive on the freeway because people merge like recklessly. So I drove. Soccer practice, pediatric appointments, one time a last-minute orthodontist visit because she forgot. I left mid-shift twice and used my lunch to sit in a school office signing a form because mom's handwriting stresses the secretary out. I watched 2 musicals where my nephew had 3 lines and my name wasn't in the program. I was fine with that. I just wanted them to be okay. Drew, can you look over this? She'd slide me bills, letters, notices. It's all so confusing, she'd say, and then text a friend while I called customer service for her. In our family, Golden worked backwards. Melissa's mistakes became group projects. My wins disappeared into silence. When I was chief resident, Dad shook my hand like he was meeting a neighbor. When Melissa got a job at a boutique for 3 weeks, we had cake. Boundaries were optional until they were mine. The first time I said no, it was about a car. Melissa had traded in a perfectly okay sedan for a shiny SUV with a monthly payment that made me blink. 2 months later, she said, "They're threatening to take it. I just need a bridge." "How much?" I asked. "Only $1,100, she said. Like, only was not a flag on fire. "I can't," I said. Silence. "Wow," she said. "Okay, I see how it is." 2 hours later, Mom called. "Sweetie, your sister is crying." "I'm at work," I said. "We are all at work," she said, and I could hear the script turning pages. "You know she relies on you." "I know," I said. "That's part of the problem." It didn't stop. It just changed shape. Fewer requests for one-off payments. More assumptions that I'd cover just this month, just until the refund hits, just until tax season. If I hesitated, I got the same line, verbatim, copied and pasted by blood. "Don't be petty. Family helps." There was also the nickname. It started as a joke from my cousin at Thanksgiving, Doc Moneybags. Everyone laughed. It stuck. It became a handle, a tag on every conversation. "Doc Moneybags is here. Doc Moneybags can probably get it. Ask Doc Moneybags." They meant it sweet, the way people mean sugar when they say it's just a sprinkle. I smiled. I brought pies. I left with less than I came with. By December, I was tired in my bones. The kind of tired you can't nap off. Melissa's wish list hit me on a night when a teenager coded twice and lived. I had his mother's voice still echoing in my ears when I read cash for future tattoos. I wasn't offended by tattoos. I was offended by the math. I typed, "Is this a joke?" And Melissa answered with the sentence that finally made a shape around my exhaustion. "Don't be cheap. You're the rich uncle." There's a quiet moment after an insult where you wonder if you imagined it. I didn't. The message sat there, blue bubble and 3 dots, then nothing. I put my phone away and went back to a room where a kid was breathing, and I was grateful for that. The next day at lunch, I called Melissa. "Hey," I said. "What's up?" she said, bright, like we were planning a movie. "About the list," I said. "It's not that deep," she said. "You always overthink." "I can't buy all that," I said. "You won't or you can't," she said, like those were the only 2 settings I came with. "I won't," I said. She laughed. "Okay, principled. Get whatever. But like, don't make it weird." We hung up. I stared at the sandwich I didn't want. I thought about every small yes that had turned into an expectation with a bow on top. I thought about the kids. None of this was their fault. They were repeating what they heard. Rich uncle. Cheap. Don't be weird. I pulled out a sheet of paper and wrote a plan, doctor style. Clear steps, time frames, numbers. Not revenge. Not a stunt. A boundary in writing. I booked 3 things that afternoon. A financial counselor for Melissa, prepaid, 6 sessions. A family therapist, first 3 covered. And, because I know decision fatigue is real, 2 days of movers with packing supplies, in case she chose to downsize like she had said she wanted since July, but never did. I also bought grocery gift cards that required attendance at the budgeting sessions to activate. Yes, I was that specific. I am a man who writes orders. Christmas morning, I brought nothing you could plug into a wall. I brought 12 large boxes and a sealed envelope. We do brunch on Christmas. Pajamas, waffles, kids tearing paper like confetti cannons went off inside. I arrived in scrubs under a sweater with a bruised thumb and an envelope in my pocket. My plan wasn't to ruin the day. My plan was to stop the bleeding. "Uncle Andrew," my niece shouted, running to me. "Hey, kiddo." I said, hugging her. She smelled like syrup and shampoo. Melissa stood by the tree, arms crossed. So, she said, eyes scanning behind me like I might be hiding a drone under my jacket. Before I could answer, a truck pulled up outside. Big, white, company logo on the side. The kind of truck you use when life needs boxes. Two movers came to the door with 12 giant boxes and dolly straps. Everyone froze like a sitcom paused for commercial. What is this? Melissa said. Delivery for Melissa Carter. One mover said, friendly and efficient. He set the stack down by the couch. The boxes were labeled kitchen, kids' clothes, books, miscellaneous. My dad's mouth opened. Andrew, he said slowly, like he wasn't sure which word to reach for next. I handed Melissa the sealed envelope. She didn't take it at first. I kept my hand out. She finally grabbed it, tore it open, and read. Her face went from confused to annoyed to something pale. What is this? She said again, but smaller. It's a plan, I said. She read out loud, voice flat. Step 1. Open the two smaller boxes. Inside are grocery cards. They activate when the financial counselor marks attendance for session 1. Step 2. Call the counselor, number listed, and book your first meeting this week. Step 3. Pack one box of donations with the kids. Choose toys and clothes they've outgrown. Label and we'll take them together at 2 p.m. Step 4. If you choose to downsize to the apartment you told me about in July, movers are scheduled for the 5th and 6th. If not, they'll haul these empty boxes back. Step 5. Family therapy intake, January 3rd, 10 a.m. It's paid. Show up. She looked up at me like I had spoken another language. There's also a budget, I said quietly. It's yours, not mine. I'm not adding my card to your phone plan this time. I'm not paying your car note. I'm not buying iPhones. I'm not buying a drone. You think we're charity cases? She snapped. I shook my head. I think you're my sister, and I love you. I also think I've been acting like an ATM with a stethoscope. The room went silent except for the cartoon on the TV that nobody was watching. My nephew tore at the tape on one box like a lifeline and found the grocery cards and a plain note. We'll cook together this week. Menu on the back. He looked from the card to me, confused. Where's the PS6? He said. There isn't one, I said gently. Not today. His lip trembled. My niece started crying first. Then he did. Melissa went dead still. Why would you do this on Christmas? Mom whispered, like I'd brought a storm. Because I don't want to keep teaching the kids that love equals things, I said. And I don't want to keep teaching you that I will fix it if you ignore it. Dad stood. Son, this is too much. I know, I said. That's the point. Melissa's jaw clenched. You're punishing my kids to make a point to me. No, I said, steady. I'm refusing to buy them a lifestyle I can't ethically endorse. You're a doctor, she said, like it was a trump card. I'm a person, I said. A tired one. She grabbed the envelope again, flipping pages like the ending might change. There was a calendar, phone numbers, a simple budget with categories, and on the last page a single statement in bold. The movers stood awkwardly by the door. Ma'am, one said, we can leave these here, or we can load them back up. No one moved. My niece cried louder. My nephew stomped his foot and yelled that I was mean. Melissa looked at me, searching for the version of me that would cave. I didn't. Open the last box, I said. No, she said. Dad did. Inside were 3 things. A list of low-cost sports programs in their area, printouts of 2 part-time job postings Melissa had saved on her phone but never applied for, and a handwritten letter. She didn't read it. I did, because I had written it for all of us. I love you, I read. I am not your bank. I will not be shamed into buying things your budget can't hold. I will help you learn the math. I will show up for counseling. I will cook dinner and drive to appointments you schedule. I will not carry this alone anymore. Melissa's face went white. Mom put her hand over her mouth. My nephew yelled that he hated me. I took the hit. I've taken worse in rooms that smelled like bleach. Say you're sorry, Mom hissed. No, I said calm. I'm done apologizing for boundaries. Dad pointed at the door. Then leave. I picked up my coat. My voice was even, my hands weren't shaking. I will, I said. I'm a phone call away for emergencies. Not for extras. Not for upgrades. Merry Christmas. I looked at Melissa. She looked back at me, eyes glassy, jaw set. Andrew, she said, almost a growl. You're going to regret this. No, I said. I'm finally going to sleep. The first 24 hours felt like the end of a code. Quiet, then noise. My phone stacked missed calls like plates in a sink. 14 from Mom, 9 from Dad, 21 from Melissa, 3 from an unknown number that turned out to be my aunt because your mother is beside herself. I silenced everything and took a shower long enough to fog the mirror twice. At 7:12 a.m., between triage and sutures, Melissa texted, "You made my kids cry on Christmas." I typed, deleted, typed again. I refused to buy them things. That's different. I sent. She replied with a photo of my niece's puffy face and a caption, "You did this." I put the phone in my locker and went to stitch a forehead laceration while a dad held his son's hand and whispered, "You're okay, buddy. You're okay." It was a relief to be in a room where reassurance was clean and earned. By noon, I had 3 voicemails from Mom that all started with a gasp. "Andrew, call me." Then a long, dramatic pause. "Please." The third added, "You've never been cruel before." Cruel. It sat weird in my chest. I dunked that word into memory and pulled up facts like labs. 6 sessions of counseling prepaid, 2 days of movers if she wanted them, grocery cards tied to budgeting. Not blocked, not punished. An offer with structure, not a threat. Cruel is letting a problem rot because you're scared to be the first one to say it stinks. At 4:03 p.m., Dad sent a single sentence. "Put the truck on your own conscience." I put my phone down and filled out discharge papers for a woman with high blood pressure. "So I really got to cut the chips, huh?" she said. I smiled. "Let's swap them 3 days a week and see," I said. Small steps. Clear steps. The only kind that ever work. That evening, I sat on my couch and wrote out the next 30 days like a resident writes out a call list. Sleep at least 6 hours, even if split. 1 run around the block after day shifts. Sundays, cook for the week. Therapy, my own, not optional. Answer only texts that are about health, school, logistics. No money transfers without a receipt and a plan. No guilt calls after 9 p.m. By day 2, the extended family took sides like it was a playoff bracket. My cousin texted, the list was wild, but Christmas? Another wrote, "You could have just said no." I didn't answer. I went for a jog and felt my lungs disagree, then agree. On day 3, Melissa broke the silence with a new strategy, reason. "Okay," she wrote, "I get it. You're making a point. Can we compromise? Maybe not the drone, but the phones? They need phones for school." "They have phones," I wrote. "Theirs are old," she wrote. "So am I sent. Still works." She didn't laugh. That same afternoon, the financial counselor called me, not to gossip, but to confirm logistics. "They booked," she said. "Tomorrow at 10 a.m. I stopped in the hallway and let my shoulders drop an inch. "Thank you," I said. "They sounded mad," she said carefully. "They are," I said. "They're also smart." Day 4, my niece called me from Melissa's phone and sobbed. "Why don't you love us anymore?" I sat on the edge of my bed and kept my voice as steady as a line on a monitor. "I love you very much," I said. "So much that I don't want to teach you that expensive equals love." She cried harder. "Everyone else got stuff." "I know," I said. "We'll make pancakes Saturday. You pick the toppings." She quieted. "Can I still come over?" she whispered. "Always," I said. Day 5, Melissa sent an all-caps message. "We went to your meeting. Happy. Proud," I replied. She didn't answer. Day 6, the therapist's office emailed appointment reminders. Day 7, Dad texted, "Your mother is sick over this." Then 2 hours later, "She's fine." But still, I pictured Mom wrapped in a throw blanket signed for sport. I didn't respond to the bait. Week 2, the tone shifted. Fewer accusations. More logistics. Little texts like, "Do you still have the number for the dentist that takes Saturday appointments? And what is the difference between data and Wi-Fi? And do I have to tip movers?" I answered those. Clear, simple, practical. I didn't send money. Not once. I also started saying a new sentence I had never practiced out loud. "That's not something I can do." It felt like a tight shoe at first, then like a shoe that actually fits. On Wednesday of week 2, a photo arrived from Melissa. 3 labeled boxes stacked against a wall. "Kids picked toys to donate," she wrote, like it cost her a tooth. "Proud," I said again. "I can come Saturday." She replied with a single "t." For Melissa, that's a truce flag. Saturday morning, I loaded my car with grocery staples and the kind of snacks that don't explode into fights. We went to the donation center together. My nephew clung to 2 action figures, then put one back without crying. Progress is sometimes one finger loosening. In the car, he asked, "Why can't we have better phones?" "You can," I said. "When you save half. I'll match half for birthdays if you bring me a budget." "What's a budget?" he asked. "It's a plan in numbers," I said. "Like a map." He nodded like a kid nods when they're pretending to get it and maybe actually do. In therapy that week, I said the words out loud to a stranger with kind eyes. "I'm tired of being used." She nodded and said, Say it again without apologizing. I'm tired of being used, I repeated. How do you know you're being used? She asked. Because when I say no, I become cheap, I said. And when I say yes, I disappear. We made 2 columns on her whiteboard. What I do, what I am. I drew long arrows. We wrote sentences that made me uncomfortable, then less uncomfortable. I am not selfish for refusing to fund a fantasy. I am generous when I offer time, skills, and structure. I am allowed to leave a room where I am only useful. By the end of week 3, Melissa stopped calling after 10 p.m. She stopped with the all caps. She started sending question marks instead of exclamation points. One night, nearing 1 a.m., she texted, "The counselor said to call the phone company and cut extras. Can you stay on the line with me? I'll do it." I leaned against my locker and stared at the text. It was almost an apology shaped like a question. "I can stay on for 10, I wrote. "You do the talking." "We did." Melissa's voice shook at first. She said, "No, remove that," to a rep who tried to sell her a family entertainment bundle. She removed 2 lines they never used. She saved $54 a month. She cried a little after, and I pretended I didn't hear it. On Friday, Dad texted, "You coming by Sunday?" I said, "I can swing by after work." He wrote, "Bring that soup you make." It was so normal I almost laughed. At dinner, the kids showed me a chart they made to track chores and screen time. It was messy and perfect. Melissa hovered, unsure whether to smile or be mad. "I'm proud," I said, 3rd time that month. She looked at me and finally spoke a sentence without a hook. "I shouldn't have called you cheap," she said. "Okay," I said. I didn't make it a sermon. I didn't turn it into a victory. She glanced at the calendar pinned to the fridge. "Therapy is Tuesday," she said, like she was telling me the weather. "Good," I said. "I'm off Wednesday. We can go over the budget." She rolled her eyes, on reflex. Then she nodded. Small steps. 2 days later it snowed. I shoveled their walkway after my shift because I was nearby and it needed doing. Melissa opened the door wearing an oversized sweatshirt and said nothing for a second. "Thank you," she finally said. "You're welcome," I said. No money changed hands. No guilt did, either. I won't pretend it turned into a Christmas movie where everyone learns their lesson in 90 minutes and the credits roll over Coco. Real life is pettier, slower, and better because of it. We still have moments. I still get texts that make me stare at the wall before I answer. The kids still want shiny things with faster chips. Melissa still has an instinct to punt hard things to me. But here's what's different. The sentence, "Don't be cheap, you're the rich uncle," hasn't appeared since that night. I deleted it from my head, but I kept the screenshot. Not to hold a grudge, to remind myself what I'm done teaching. The movers hauled those 12 boxes back the same day. They weren't needed. Not yet. The envelope stayed pinned above Melissa's desk. She hates clutter, but she kept that. 2 grocery cards got activated after counseling sessions. We made chili and a grocery list that didn't include random fridge things. My nephew brought me a crudely drawn budget that said phone fund, $18/$400. I matched $18 on his birthday because he kept his side of the bargain. My niece started a pancake jar. We make pancakes a lot. At the hospital, I'm different too. I say, "I'm off now," and leave instead of staying 2 extra hours to fix a schedule someone else broke. I go to therapy. I buy better coffee. Lucky the plant got a new pot. Mom still sighs sometimes and tells me stories where she is the star and the villain is time. Dad still acts like a referee. But a funny thing happened. They stopped saying money bags. At New Year's dinner, Dad passed me the salt and said, "Andrew," like it was a name and not a role. It felt small and huge at the same time. Melissa apologized once more, the kind where your eyes stay on the floor because you mean it. "I was wrong," she said. "I thought you were judging me." "I was tired," I said. "I didn't tell you." We didn't hug. We just stood in a kitchen where the smoke alarm didn't chirp because I had already changed the battery and she had written batteries, January, on a calendar. A week later, she sent me a screenshot of her bank app, paid on time. No exclamation points. Just a fact. I sent a thumbs up, then typed, "Proud," and hit send. If you want a motto, here's mine. I won't finance someone else's denial. I will invest in their growth. I won't buy a $3,200 drone to fill a silence. I will sit in the silence with you until it tells the truth. I won't be the rich uncle. I'll be the steady one. The one who shows up and says, "No," when no is the only real help left. I hear my name a lot at work. Doctor, in 100 different voices. The best days are when I can walk into a room, look a worried parent in the eyes, and say, "We've got a plan." That's all I did at Christmas. I wrote a plan and put my name on the envelope. They cried. She went pale. No one opened the last box because, in the end, it was only a mirror and a letter they weren't ready to read. That's okay. I'm not here to force anyone to look. I'm here to stop lying to myself. I'm not cheap. I'm careful. I'm not rich. I'm responsible. I'm not an ATM. I'm Andrew. Brother. Uncle. Doctor. Person. And that is enough.